Hi everyone. So one of the questions I've gotten this question a lot is what should I learn first? Because people will look through they'll look through my videos that I have on YouTube, and they see like a gazillion videos. They're like, okay, this is great, but I'm completely overwhelmed. I don't know what to learn first. I don't know what I should be practicing first, and they want to know what they should be learning first. And this video will not tell you that. I can't tell you what you will learn first, because learning is not this A, B, C recipe, like, following the side of instructions on a box, as many instructional drawing videos and books will try to have tell you. Because learning is a game. It's a game, and a good video game will convey to you a sense of player agency. And agency is this thing where the choices you make, the things you do, and I mean, given whatever the game tells you and how it informs you, and you make a choice based on whatever you're told, that makes a difference. That influences the outcome of the game. So, it's video games these days. A lot of RPGs are parameter driven. So if I look at a game like World of Warcraft or Diablo, or I look at Final Fantasy or Path of Exile, a very good free-to-play MMO out there. There's Warframe, or you look at Fallout, Fallout 3. These have parameters, and if you look at the Fallout has the special system, and what this means is that there's 7 attributes, and the mnemonic is special. So S is strength, P is perception, E is endurance, C is charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. So if you're going to make a character build that's like a close combat melee build, then you go for high strength. You go for high endurance because you're going to be getting close. You're going to take a pounding. You go for agility. Maybe not so much charisma and intellect. So you have some stats which you boost, and other stats would become dump stats. And if you go for, say, a sniper is going to not need strength as much. He's going to go for high perception, high luck, maybe high intellect, maybe not as much endurance, maybe some agility in there so he can get more shots off. So the thing is that you boost some stats and you dump other stats depending on what kind of character you want to build. And this is about the parametrics, the parameter-driven aspect of a video game. So when you look at RPG games, you're always trying to stack up on crit. You're trying to stack for strength. You make various types of builds for different purposes. And whenever you're learning and you're drawing, drawing is an activity that is governed very much through parametrics. It's formula, and very complex changing formula. So I'm gonna keep talking about how games are, because video games, especially role-playing games, and learning to draw have so much in common. And really a lot of regular learning in life has so much to do with video games. So when you play, in particular, Diablo is a very good example. Diablo is a game where it's not just about beating up monsters. A lot of times, Diablo has a ton of replay value, because as you go into the harder and harder levels, you start running into monsters, and you make a particular build, right? You get particular kinds of armor. You try to stack up for certain attributes, and you want to make, let's say, an offensive build. At first, all you care about is DPS, damage per second, how much damage you're dishing out, and how quickly you can kill those guys. But then you start running into elite mobs, where it's just they have incapacitating effects. They have special effects, area damage effects. They can slow you down. They can freeze you in place. And your build, which means your choice of skills and choice of parameters, no longer works anymore. So when you are playing Diablo and you are venturing through the world and encountering monsters and trying to beat them up, you are in an experimentation stage. And oftentimes when you see your health bar dropping down like crazy, and you're taking a beating and you're dying a lot, there's the observation. And so you have to go into adaptation. So the experimentation, observation, adaptation. This is when you start realizing, well, damn it, my skill build's just not working. I'm not doing the right things. This is the player agency aspect of Diablo. It means that the choices you make in terms of the skill builds that you use, the equipment you use, the way you allocate your skill points, these kinds of things, this is what it's like to learn how to draw. is that when you learn how to draw, there are different subjects that you're going to take on. There's going to be different tasks you want to deal with. And when you understand what your goal is in drawing, you try to build up your skills and build up techniques and build up methods of dealing with a problem that will require experimentation, observation, adaptation, and you have to look at the parameters that drive the thing that you're trying to do. So in the case of a lot of my exercises, when I show you things like manual dexterity, and I show you, how to practice drawing an ellipse in different angles, I show you how to draw cubes that are turning through space. I mean, I'm trying to teach you, agility and dexterity, right? I'm trying to beef up, particular attributes when I talk about composition and those things. I'm trying to beef up your sense of perception when I show you how to draw into the screen. I'm teaching you perception. And so, in my case, I'm a generalist. So I want to have, I want to be a very special person. I want to have all the attributes. And so that's the thing, is that it's not just, I can't tell you to just learn one thing after another. It doesn't work that way. It's not. And I guess there is a sense of dependency. This is one thing I really want to get across to you, is that if there is an order, then there's one called dependency. And dependency is not the thing that I dictate, it's a thing that the task dictates. And so in the case of, I've got this kind of webcomic that's going on, which is about how to design fictional firearms. And the main core things I want to talk about with, designing fictional firearms is that there's a dependency chain. When I design a firearm, I look at, first and foremost, what is the target? Who are we shooting? What are we shooting? What are its strengths, its weaknesses? Because some weapons are going to be ineffective. Some weapons, certain ways, certain methods are going to be ineffective. Other methods are. Some things are going to make the target sit down and shut up real fast. Other ones are just going to piss the target off, and it's going to get you killed. So you got to know your enemy. You got to know your target. You got to know the problem. And then the next thing is well, how do we deal with it? So, you got to figure out, well, does the enemy, maybe the enemy is a whole swarm of bees, and, we need a gas weapon, right? So, I mean, it's a payload. The payload, what's the bullet? What's the thing you're launching at them? That is the payload. And so the thing is that the payload is dependent on the target. You need to know the target first. Then that helps you dictate what the payload is. The payload is dictated by the target. And then finally, when you know what the payload is the payload a little 22 rimfire cartridge? Is it a rocket-propelled grenade? Is it is it a shotgun shell filled with pellets, or is it a shotgun with a discarding sabot in there? So that is the delivery. The delivery is the thing that delivers the payload to the target. And so you need to know what the payload is before you can develop the delivery mechanism. So delivery is dependent on payload. Payload is dependent on target. So this is what I mean by dependency. And when it comes to drawing, we have the subject, right? Subject's kind of like our target. What are we drawing? Are we drawing people? Are we drawing places? Are we drawing or designing mechanical objects? Are we designing firearms, vehicles? We're designing a room layout. What is the subject? And then there is the scope. The scope is, how much do we intend to carry, or do we intend to draw in our drawing? How much do we intend to depict within the drawing? And so this is oftentimes you'll see me drawing, frames, and I'm saying, well, that is how much of the page I want to use up. I start, drawing in little bit or shapes like this to divide up that shape. And I say, well, that's kind of a big mountain, and that over there is like some more like city buildings, and that's, how much do I intend to cover with my drawing, with my depiction? That's scope. Then you have arrangement, and arrangement is, well, what goes in front, what goes behind? How will we? If I'm telling a story, then that means that if I draw a person over here with an upraised, here we are, give him a dagger. Okay, so he's got a dagger, and then I have another guy over here with maybe what he's got is he's got a club. Okay, so he's got there we are, a club. Or no, hey, let's make it a samurai sword. Okay, so he's got a samurai sword, and so, in this case, in terms of storytelling, this is the arrangement. Obviously, it looks like who's got the drop on who. He is going to stab him. he's got the drop on this guy, right? So, okay. But if we change the arrangement and I move this around, the roles have reversed. We know who's got the drop on who. That is arrangement. Where do we put things? How do we juxtapose them? Where do we place them? In how do we arrange things? So that's arrangement. So the thing is that, the scope is kind of dependent on the subject. The arrangement is dependent on the scope. Things like simulation. Simulation is whenever I do any kind of animation and I try to do things like, if I draw a person, let's say hair, right? If I have to deal with hair or I have to deal with clothing, then oftentimes I will, if I have, let's say, a person here, if I'm going to do hair, I will draw the head and shoulders first, and then, I'll let the hair, move over the shoulders, right? I'll allow that to flow over the shoulders. There's a sense of simulation. There's gravity. There's, it's science. You got to know the science. You got to know, if I have a person who's going to lift a heavy weight, so I will draw this heavy weight. This is, this is the target. This is kind of one of the dependencies. I need to know where the weight is. Then I may draw the ground in, and then finally I'll draw this person in, and I need to kind of position it so that he's as far under this object as possible, right? That is the simulation aspect. That, the fact that I'm doing this kind of stuff and figuring out, all the leveraging and the weighting and the full, that is the science. That's the simulation aspect of things. This is where you kind of know, whenever you're drawing, you're trying to depict something, what if this happened? What if that happened? You're trying to show what if. And a simulation is where you apply, knowledge and understanding of a thing, and you simulate, what is going on. And then finally, there's the rendering, and the rendering is where we deal with line style and how pretty things are and the lighting, and all of that comes, after the simulation. So, I mean, there's the dependency chain. All right. So, again, when I look at understanding drawing to me is like this branching tree. There's so many things that you could be learning, and they all kind of they share a common root, and even that root may have its own little branching stuff going on. And I think a lot of people who want to get into drawing, they see something, they see a goal up there. They see this lofty goal, and what they want to do is they want to do this. Okay? They want to learn just that. That's how, but the tree is not capable of getting a branch that high without all of these other things. It starts out as a sapling and it gradually grows and it branches out. But, I think that a lot of people, they just want to take the shortest route and bang, get that, they see a drawing that they like, they see another artist who's doing something, and that's how they see things. And then it's made even worse by, the fact that a lot of times I think drawing appears to most people like this. It appears as just a large, all the leaves are on the tree. It's completely like we don't know what's going on. In fact, even in this case, there's ground, right? We don't get to see all that. And then, maybe some instructional books might start you off with that little, stump tree thing at the bottom, but it's not enough. It's hard, it's impossible it's just so hard to grasp any of that stuff. You have to pull the leaves off the tree, and you have to be able to get inside there and see what's going on. And then a lot of times when I see many tutorials, a lot of tutorials are, here's how to draw realistic eyes, and they give you like this wonderful airbrushed eye, and what they're doing is they're just revealing one branch, one little branch up there, and that's not an understanding. This is not this. All right, they're two completely, it's just this is a complete understanding. Like this is a, or I would say a more well-rounded, it's a thorough understanding of drawing. And so I will not tell you which of these branches. I don't think anyone can tell you which one of these branches is the most important. I think they're all important. And I think, it's like when you're trying to assemble a jigsaw puzzle. You have one of those 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles. It's like asking me, it's like asking someone, well, which piece do I put down on the table first? And my answer is all of them. You just take the box, you turn it upside down on the table, the pieces go everywhere. And you're like, well, what pieces look similar, and then you start kind of grouping them together. Which pieces are the corner pieces, and you start, kind of shoving those off to the side. Which pieces are the edge pieces, and you start. That is how I approach drawing. That is how I approach learning. I don't approach it by saying I want to get the one piece, up there. I want to, or I just, give me a tutorial on how to draw an eye, and eyelashes, and only one way to draw eyes. So many times these tutorials are, here is one way to draw an eye, and that's all you get. That is not. I mean, it's. Well, I'm not gonna I'm not saying don't watch those tutorials. Do watch them, but watch many of them. Don't treat them as the end all and be all of learning. It doesn't work that way. So, I got excited, and anyway, I hope this helps. Probably not. It probably left you with even more questions, and I didn't answer the question at all. But that's what learning is like. That's how it is. That's the learning game. That's and I guess it's like I say, you have to strive for the agency. You have to strive for the control to find out what is the thing we got to do, and what things, what tools do I have? What weapons can I develop? What skills can I have? What builds can I make to help me deal with this problem? And I think that a lot of people have difficulty grasping this concept, or they're just not aware of this concept. Maybe because they went through a school like I went through. I mean, my school did not. A lot of times I went to an English class, or math class or history class, and they don't teach you agency. A lot of times they don't give you a sense of agency. They don't give you a feeling of cause and effect. If you do this, that happens. If you do that, that happens. They say, here's the assignment, do it our way, follow step A, B, C. It doesn't work that way. And I think that if you're in school still, if you're still in school and you are finding yourself bored, you're finding that you're not having a good time, that you can't absorb anything, that you're just trying to have to, memorize things through rote memorization, they're not teaching you agency. And you should be mad. You should get angry. You should actually tell your students, your teacher, what are you teaching me that will help me later in life, in the game of life, the game of real life, when I need as much agency as possible? When things are crappy out there, and I need to get a job, how is this going to help me obtain a job and keep a job and do a job? You want that agency, you really, really want that agency. And if they can't, if the teacher can't offer that to you, then you have to go out and find it. You either have to find a teacher that will give it to you, or you have to go out and find it. That's what it means to have agency. You go out and you obtain it for yourself, or you find a place to obtain it. But you're the one who can control that. I can't, and so that's why I can't really answer this. What should I learn first thing? Because if I just tell you, do this one thing, and even I don't know. But if I told you that one thing, there's no agency. I'm not giving you any agency at all in that part. In that case, so good luck. And, well, I guess I'll see you around.